As is the usual custom, the end of something usually signals the beginning of something else. We're in the beginning of 2025, January. How are you planning to up your game this year? What are you going to do to make this year the greatest of all time? And while you ponder that, join us as we explore the makings of a true GOAT, greatest of all time, which is QTip, and what sets him apart from the rest. From his immense talent to his mindset and work ethics, we'll dive into the characteristics that made him the legend he is today. Welcome back to our channel. I'm Haas.
I'm CeCe.
Today we got a hot topic for you. Last year sometime, right? I got into an intense digital back and forth over a statement I made on a hip hop group I run with some friends called Hip Hop Heads. Shout out to my man Manuel, shout out to my man Ty. I've been having one of those days where my brain was fried and I needed a little time to let my mind rest. So I browsed through my Instagram and my Facebook and saw this awesome picture of Q-Tip and Nas. I'm sure y'all saw it. They were having this genuine moment of laughter. I could literally feel the experience they were having. I thought that it would be an awesome picture to share it in the group, and I posted it with this caption, 2 GOATs. I thought it was great. I felt proud about that assessment. I thought that shit was dope. Then, a member of the group rebutted my post with 1 GOAT and 1 great producer. I almost lost my shit. Like, this dude don't know who Q-Tip is? This dude is lost. I almost kicked him out of the group on GP.
Uh-oh.
But I'm just kidding. I wasn't gonna do that. That was good discourse. But I felt strongly about it because I'm an old hip-hop head. They came up in the early 90s when hip-hop was becoming the voice for the people. We thought we were trendsetters, rocking G.O.A.T jeans, cross colors, Lee jean overalls, Bugle Boy, 2 times too big, baggy sweaters, baggy jeans, Doc Martens, Saucony runners, Flower Child hats, Page Boy caps, backpack with troll dolls in the pocket.
Wait. Troll dolls? You gotta explain that one.
It's a little embarrassing. But I was a dancer for this dope female rapper out there. Shout out to Nundy. But she ran a tight ship and had a very particular way she wanted her image to be curated. So she had us carrying these stupid dolls like we were some kind of cult. I say that like I didn't like it, but I had one. Well, shit, maybe I had 2. I was a collector of weird stuff. Alright? We were artsy kids with different talents. Some were dancers, shout out to Mac and Kev Wise. Some were MCs, shout out to Innovate Eno and Danger. We had a DJ, shout out to DJ Hub. We had a graphic artist, shout out to Mustafa. Shout out to Jay Willer III. And we were smooth talkers, baby.
Wait a minute. Smooth talkers? You mean as in what?
That's right. We were players and trendsetters, so we could chat up the ladies, but also we were the guys who could get in the party and set it off. But it was during these parties that I started to gravitate to hip hop. I would love to say a Tribe Called Quest dropped at one of these parties, but I can't. You see, I grew up in the South before it became the dirty South, and it had that funk sound to it. So the sound dominating our parties was bass music from the likes of 2 Live Crew and Edward J. All-Stars. See, if you ain't a true A-Town dude, you don't know nothing about them Edward J. All-Stars, right? And then, we were the home and the birthplace of the Yeet dance. And that was on center stage for everybody to see. I think it was on So You Think You Can Dance. In fact, one of my brothers One of my brothers was in that group. I can't remember the name of the group, but they got far in that show.
Interesting.
So dance battles were commonplace then, and the DJ would loop in, sometimes in between all of the bass music that was playing. The DJs will loop in some Chubb Rock, Treat 'em Right, hoo-hoo. And then they hit it on the NWA, the LL Cool J, the Run DMC, the Rakim. And we hit the floor doing the Running Man and pop locking, King Tutting and breakdancing footwork. That's when we started showing our artistry with our clothes. We tried to be so eccentric and unique with our dress that we just looked plain weird to everybody else, cool to us. We didn't care, didn't like it. The stuff we listened to was different from the party scene. It was weird New York stuff like Brand Nubians and Poor Righteous Teachers, KRS-One. But he ain't really weird, that's the teacher. And the Jungle Brothers. During that time, my folks thought I was weird, but I thought we were trendsetters. I remember I saw an interview with MTV where Heavy D was interviewing De La Soul, and at that time, De La Soul was so avant-garde that Heavy D was like, what are y'all talking about in y'all songs?
Cause y'all be getting out there sometimes be having me like, what are they talking about? I want to know what they talking about.
And they did have some interesting lyrics, but Tribe Called Quest, they weren't far behind them in being grouped together like a bunch of weirdos, which later became defined as conscious rap.
Conscious rap. Okay.
How about that?
Yeah.
Now this group of weirdos were called the Native Tongues, which consisted of the Jungle Brothers, De La Soul, A Tribe Called Quest, Moni Love, Queen Latifah, Black Sheep, and Chi Ali. And there is where I found my home.
With the weirdos.
With the weirdos. In a group of acts who walked to their own beat and talked their own language and hummed their own tune. They were misunderstood and definitely not accepted in the landscape which they first emerged. They were trendsetters.
What do you think it was about the Native Tongues, what you guys were about, that meant so much to a generation?
We were just blessed to be able to be at the right time at the right place. That's part of it. Prior, I guess, to us, you were starting to see different shades of black complexity. On this initial, implosion from the, early 70s up into the 80s, it was kind of like a smaller dimension. But like most things that, that grow, it started to widen. And then through that, it was able to carve out paths for other people to enter us. And then, at that time, we were able to express that we're more than one dimension. Because we were kind of like the first to kind of like, have that kind of position about, showing our complexity and showing our levels and showing our depth.
This brings us to the term GOAT, which of course is the acronym for greatest of all time. I know I took a long time to get to this, connecting it back to the beginning when I called QTip the GOAT. But, now I want to give you a understanding of what a GOAT is. And I'm glad y'all hung in there with me. Now, the term GOAT originated with Muhammad Ali. Isn't that right, babe?
Right. I believe that his wife, Lonnie Ali, incorporated the term greatest of all times, or G.O.A.T.
Okay.
in 1992 to consolidate and license his intellectual property and stuff.
Okay. Then in the year 2000, LL Cool J released an album titled G.O.A.T, or GOAT. And in an interview with Change the Game TV, he explains that he got the term from two people. First of all, Muhammad Ali, as we already mentioned, and he also said the second person was a street ball player called Earl Manigault, who was also called the GOAT. So LL just decided to take GOAT and make it into an acronym. From there, it's become part of the lexicon. Essentially, LL said that without Muhammad Ali, there would be no Mama Said Knock You Out. And so now GOAT has become a common way to describe athletes, musicians, artists, and entrepreneurs as the best in their field, or anyone at the top of their field for that purpose. I explained GOAT in 1 minute. You're welcome. So now, I'm about to tell y'all why QTip is a GOAT. Musically, the standards of a GOAT generally include having great productions and songs, the level of achieved success, having longevity and relevance, being versatile and lyrically flexible, having commercial success, and finally, the level of their influence on the community. QTip, in this regard, started his journey as a member and the frontman of A Tribe Called Quest, along with Phife Dawg, Ali Shaheed Muhammad, and Jerobi. They were known for great songs like Can I Kick It, Bonita Apple Bomb, Award Tour, and my favorite, Sucker. The bass riff on that song is filthy like ass grease. Honestly, that whole Midnight Marauder album was a repeat listener from beginning to end for me. Their groovy beats and poetic rhythms and rhymes, it just made them an immediate favorite with kids who were creatives and eccentric. QTip was one of the first to infuse jazz loops into hip-hop music, and the way he layered it and the melodic tempo made it electrical to my ears. And QTip's father was a heavy influence on his appreciation for music, especially for jazz. He taught him about how a song breathes and needs space. I think he also gave him an appreciation for the sound as it came over vinyl. It caused him to build a big vinyl collection.
Wow, Tip. This is like a record store.
Yeah, I have.
Oh my God.
I'm still putting records in here. So I have like African Afrobeat. I have like Latin records. I have disco 12 inches.
How many records would you say you have here?
Right now, I probably have about 9,000 records.
You have them all categorized too.
Now, I can relate to listening to my parents' albums and appreciating their stylings for music. I mean, I remember this one song by Leon Thomas. It was called Song for My Father. My dude was listening to an instrumental cover of the song. Then I started singing the lyrics. If there was ever a man who was generous, gracious, and good, that was my dad, the man. And the song is so sentimental. We started singing it together. It was great. And it's not like my dad was a super dad, but he did so love into me and gave me the best he knew how. And every time I heard that song, and every time I hear it, it conjures memories of my father and the times we spent listening to his records and that anticipation between songs, hearing the vinyl noise. And that anticipation with the vinyl noise made the song that much better. See, y'all young folk don't know nothing about that. Y'all missing out. Y'all got all of this immediate gratification song selection playlists and iTunes and Spotify. Bah! The music greats were captured in time in QTip's dad's vinyl collection. And young QTip started his producer journey creating pause tapes.
I would make pause tapes, which was a big thing for kids back in the 80s to do if you like had ideas for music, because we didn't have any setups, we didn't have any track machines, we didn't have any of that stuff. So what we usually had was some janky ass, like, you know, stereo system. How many people know what a pause tape is? And if you want like a bar of something and you have to play it, rewind it and go back, and I'd unpause it, I'd say, okay, yeah, I got it. Then I go back, and then I come right back here, and then I unpause it again, and then I pause it, and I say, okay, great.
I tip my hat to the brother for the patience he had to capture the right moments on a song to create a repeat beat on tape. It's what us 70s babies had to do before drum machines. How about that? And I describe the pause tape as the next generation of Kool Herc's break beats. Look that up. Now, Q-Tip was a trailblazer. He created a style of music that was new, fresh, and energizing. His music exhibited the influences of jazz, soul, disco, rock, even folk.
Wow.
He mentions his reference of singer-songwriter Joni Mitchell, who is one of the foremost folk music artists of the 20th century.
She's like, you know, Mount Rushmore of like singer-songwriter. Like you can't do any wrong with Joni Mitchell. I just love her, you know what I'm saying? Like Hissing the Summer Lawns and like Blue and it was crazy, right? I do hip hop and I'm talking all this shit, right? So stop judging, y'all. No, I'm just kidding. Don't judge me, God damn it. I like Joni Mitchell.
Yeah, I love me some Joni Mitchell.
Yeah. Now Q-Tip had his finger on the pulse of good music, leaving us with countless Tribe Called Quest gems. But he also produced songs for greats like Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey and Raphael Sadiq and Mary J. Blige and D'Angelo. I mean, so many more. We'd literally be here for hours listening to all the songs he's touched. Also collaborating with production greats like Jay Dilla, R.I.P., and with Ali Shaheed Muhammad made up the production trio, the Ummah. But Q-Tip also collabed with Kanye West, Dr. Dre, and many more. He recently produced all of LL Cool J's most recent album, The Force. He plays the keys, he coordinates and conducts talented musicians, then chops up the tracks to create magic. He has to be involved in so many songs that are mainstream hits that it is ridiculous. Talk about commercial success? What? Then, in 2023, Billboard declared him 6th greatest producer of all time and listed him on the Billboard Top 50 Greatest Lyricists of all time. And he's been getting these accolades for years, going as far back as 2011 when AllMusic called him the best rapper in history. He got similar pronouncements in 2012, 2013, and 2014. Dude has been influencing the sound waves that have filled our stereos for more than 3 decades. You can't tell me he ain't got longevity and continues to be relevant. Dude is relevant. Don't even get me started on his influence on the culture. Tribe came out with this amazing style of Afrocentricity. They made it cool to be different in the rock African print fabrics, colorful combinations with groovy headgear. I said groovy? Check me out. I'm still doing it. Although the Afrocentric movement began decades earlier, they made it more appealing to young folks in the 90s.
I really wasn't exposed to that a lot, you know, being that I was from the South and growing up a minister's child. You know, my household was very rigid when it came to self-expression. So, you know, tell me a little more about how that emerged in the 90s.
Well, you know, for many, tracing our lineage has been perplexing, to say the least, until recent development of DNA tracing. You know, so okay. You can imagine it left many culturally lost and uncertain of their spiritual heritage. And in the journey to America, Black people lost their connection to Africa, and thus the link to their history. Afrocentrism sought to give that back.
I really want to know about where my people come from because I feel like it just answers a lot of questions for me. It's a bunch of generational, psychological things that could be answered as well.
As for myself and my friends, we sought to study and celebrate blackness more. We started wearing natural hair. I grew dreads for 3 years. We wore African patterns. Our clothes were baggy. We incorporated red, black, and green combinations in our fashions. In fact, the red, the black, and the green were commonly used to represent our connection to Africa and are used prominently in Kwanzaa, which also has or was re-emerging.
During that time period.
Okay. Then, you could see the youth's influence on the designers of that age, just like you can now. So, through the years, black culture has always influenced the cool clothing companies that have come out. And so, but at that time, they produced clothes with similar vibrant colors. Look back at some of the apparels of cross colors, for example.
All right, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Well, I get it. Afrocentrism, definitely was a movement that merged a sense of Africanness into the African American lifestyle. So I totally get what you're saying.
Exactly. I mean, it became a major part of the hip-hop movement at a time when gangsta rap got all the headlines. Tribe's embrace of this Afrocentric ideology helped to make the culture embrace it. And their conscious message made it acceptable to demonstrate self-expressions of individualism. This pushed me to really know myself.
So now, when you say know yourself, what do you mean by that? Explain that a little bit more.
In the early 90s, when Tribe's first album was released, I was in high school. High school is a period of time when a young person, in their life, and is when they explore their position on political matters and social ideologies. It's when young people decide what they want to align themselves with and build communities accordingly. Mm-hmm. Tribe's message and style and sonic energy. You like how I said that?
I do.
Ding! That message, that sound, it resonated with me. It gave me permission and confidence to be as weird as I wanted to be. And that's what I did. Dag nabbit.
Well, there's really...
I saw one of the interviews that QTip did with Matt Hoffa, and he was talking about a freestyle battle he had with ODB, and in ODB's rhyme he said something about dag nabbit, something like that. But he said ODB ate him up, you know what I'm saying?
It seems you felt that Tribe Called Quest really spoke to your soul.
I mean, they did. They pushed the boundaries, but that's what makes greatness. They stood on the shoulders of jazz poets like Gil Scott-Heron and The Last Poets. They stood on the shoulders of funk greats like George Clinton and Bootsy Collins, and jazz legends like Donald Byrd and Ron Carter. Their lyrical styling was filled with esoteric allegories and philosophical concepts while staying grounded to everyday relatable scenarios. Their style altered the hip-hop genre by encouraging conversations about unflattering stereotypes and laid them over progressive beats.
So, when you say unflattering stereotypes, you're talking about within the hip-hop industry?
Correct. It was, stories about the hip-hop business. It was stories about a experience that a man has with a woman, and then she
about
calls
consent.
And it's not within her consent. Mm-hmm. It's stories about how certain labels are used, such as in sucker. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's those type of concepts, and over those progressive beats, it did something. It did something that really touched people's souls. And Q-Tip, he's known for his eclectic taste in music. His music infused different, sometimes opposing genres together to create a unique and vibrant sound that set him apart from other hip-hop artists. It's a wonder that it took until 2024 for a Tribe Called Quest to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, at which Q-Tip accepted it with so much grace, along with his bandmate Jarobi and his late band member Fife's. His parents were there.
We heard Rapper's Delight in 1979, and my best friend in the whole world was Malik Fife Dog Taylor. And we saw each other every day at school, at church, and we'd have to call each other and talk about the game or talk about what record we heard or whatever. And we were 9 years old. And after Malik heard the record, Fife heard the record, when he was 9, he was like, yo, we could do that too. And I was like, okay. And because I was 9 and I had that spark, and I followed his spark. And that spark is something I think that we all have in us, and that we should all, in this world, try to do everything we can to secure our own personal spark. That's what Tribe was about.
And dude is a class act, leaving a legacy, spreading his love for hip-hop, jazz, and the culture. He exemplified this passion while teaching at New York University, exploring the influences of jazz on the evolution of hip-hop, and also being awesome enough that the Kennedy Center would name him as the first artistic director of hip-hop culture.
Wow.
All over, just the whole genre, as if he was like an ambassador of sorts.
My role as artistic director for hip-hop culture at the esteemed Kennedy Center. It couldn't have come at a better time, especially for this country and our world, specifically nationally, dealing with race, issues of racism and issues of misogyny and issues of classism, and then abroad, enemies ruthlessly going against enemies. When all of these things go on, it's always good to come to some sort of art, whether it be a film, a book, or music. And hip-hop is no exception to this antidote for the ills of the world.
And admit it,
Yeah.
Q-Tip and Tribe didn't only influence backpack rappers and conscious rappers, they influenced the whole hip-hop genre. Who was that? Nori on Drink Champs that said that, when he was coming up, Q-Tip was a major influence to him getting into the industry, or Tribe was. And forget about it, you can't think of the golden era of hip-hop without Q-Tip's vocal stylings coming to mind, and anyone who says you can is straight up lying.
So you gonna take that to the bank?
I take that to the grave.
Okay.
And on top of all of that, he's been an activist and an advocate, using his platform as an artist to speak out on issues such as racial inequalities, police brutality, and the importance of education, actively engaging in movements for change.
I think that's one of the things that always adds to a person's greatness is how they show up for the little people in the world.
I can't think of any artist right off who carries as much weight as Q-Tip. He ushered in a whole new style of rap, and he influenced a lot of people in the culture. His lyrical genius and boundary-pushing approach have left an indelible mark on the music industry, inspiring artists to explore new creative avenues. And he deserves to be recognized for that. And I don't care what anyone else says. Q-Tip is a freaking GOAT! Be sure to leave your comments about the GOAT below.
For over the past 40 years, hip-hop has not only served as one of the most influential art forms out of the African American community, but is also the prevailing energy of culture around the world.
Until next time, adventure seekers, be true to yourself, keep your mind sharp, and be the change you want to see in the world.
Peace.